First of all, shout out to Solo TV 84 and the podcast that we're going to do for the Snow Bunny Sundays coming tomorrow, in which we're going to discuss about the top 10 places for interracial dating for brothers. Yes, it's going to be a good one. Hold on to your seats, get your popcorn ready. But in the meantime, this video is going to relate to it in a way, but instead of talking about the exact cities where interracial dating is best for brothers in 2019, and you know what? Brothers from other mothers too. Latino, Asian dudes, Indian dudes, you all are included in this as well. This is definitely applicable for the most part towards anyone who's looking to date outside the race, because let's be honest, yeah, black men get it the worst when it comes to dating outside the race, but let's not delude ourselves in thinking it's an easy path for most Latino, Asian, and especially Indian dudes. If you want to talk about one group of individuals who have it harder than blacks, then you may be looking at some Asian and Indian dudes. I'll let those guys comment. But in the meantime, characteristics of interracial friendly cities. The lists I present to you are basically characteristics of what I found to be in place for cities that had high interracial dating numbers. Now, as far as these go, the majority of these are applicable to men in general, particularly minority men in general, but especially to the brothers out there. For starters, your numbers are low. This definitely emphasizes on the exotic factor of someone who isn't in a particular city too much, because, I mean, let's be honest. If you have a high amount of individuals in your city, particularly of your ethnic group, one, you're not as exotic to individuals. You're well known to the general population. And this could be either a good thing or a bad thing. But when it comes to minorities, I hate to say this, this usually works against us as minority men more than for us, especially if the race that we belong to has an infamous stereotype. We aren't going to even discuss those things, but if your numbers are super low or even moderately low, then you do become exotic by default. And this is definitely a factor when traveling overseas, which is one of the reasons why we emphasize to travel overseas, where you will become a commodity by default. Heck, you even have some guys out there who are borderline incels, who, if you put them in the right place, then they won't be talking about how much, oh, MGTOW there, I'm so MGTOW, I'm MGTOW, guys. I'm MGTOW, go bot MGTOW. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. But yeah, this is just all a numbers thing when it comes to being low as part of the population. Second, you're not part of the underclass. Now, this is a very important one, especially for minority men, especially black men, who, in the United States of America at least, tend to be seen or pushed as the underclass group. I mean, if you want any examples of this, look at what individuals are displayed on the 11 o'clock news or your local news website. That alone, depending on how many people and mugshots you see of particular individuals, will show you who is the underclass in your region. And no, I hate to say this, in most American cities, especially the more east you go, the more likely it is that if you're black, you are the underclass of that city, and as a result, you will have a much harder time of getting with women outside your race. This tends to be the truth as well the more southwest you go as a Latino American, I've noticed. If you're not part of that underclass, it could work towards your favor. I know this may sound politically incorrect to say, but if you're black, you may want to look at places where Latinos or other minorities are part of that underclass so that you won't get as much heat. Same thing if you're Latino. If you're having problems dating in, say, Bakersfield or Fresno or Phoenix, then you may want to look more east because, let's be honest, more east you go, the more anti-black it gets. So I'm just stating that right now. Even in 2019, looking at 2020, we're still seeing a bunch of Bebe's kids and Pookies and Ray Rays and Shanae who want to hijack the image of all black Americans. And I don't see enough thinking black men and women trying to reverse that trend. But if you're not part of the underclass culture, it'll be a lot easier for you to date outside the race, mainly because you won't have to worry about being the face of criminality. The third characteristic of interracial friendly cities and regions states where it isn't politically far left or far right. Now, most of America seems today to be either far to the left or far to the right. We have places where the cities are far left and the rest of the states far right. I mean, you want to look at the Midwest as a perfect example. I read a story about how a Chinese American was banned from being Miss Michigan because she used Islamophobic and anti-black statements, which you can question if they're Islamophobic or racist. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because this is the individual who touts around wearing the MAGA hat and talking about MAGA and all this other kind of stuff. So chances are her kind are your usual white worshipping Asian American females. The Asian dudes can definitely attest to this, which is why I emphasize more on moderate and libertarian places as the best locations for interracial dating. Places where, yeah, it might lean slightly to the left or slightly to the right, but you don't want to deal with areas where it's super leftist to the point in which they're basically bending over for all of the other favored groups. But notice which group they don't bend over for, or they don't go out of their way to defend. The interracial couple, specifically with minority men and whatever non-matching minority or white females. You don't see this. I've been to plenty of places where, oh yeah, we're liberal towards this group and that group and the third and the fourth and the fifth, but oh, you dating outside your race? Oh no, you don't get that liberal defense. You don't get the Democrats fighting on your behalf. You don't get the paths of, well, race is a social construct, so it doesn't matter. But the hipster guy who's of a certain ethnicity, yeah, he gets a pass. He gets to do with Mylan and Maria all day long. The liberals don't mind that. But you try to do that, trust me, you will get some subtle hostile looks. As well as from the far right locations. And we all don't even need to discuss about that. We know how these far rightist locations think, where a certain skin color is right. And if you're of that wrong skin color, you better watch out. And there's a reason why I'm not a MAGA channel here, let's be honest. Alright, the fourth characteristic. Transient cities where people aren't in the same area where they grew up. Now, this focuses more on the social circle aspect of interracial dating. Now, a lot of people are coming around to it, but I hate to say this, just as many people are still hesitant, if not outright hostile, towards their precious Becky or their precious Mayuko or their precious Maria dating outside the race, especially when it comes to dealing with certain men. We can all guess what kind of men they are, and these individuals, these women, even if they are open-minded to dealing with whatever race, a lot of these women still have to deal with their communities. They still have to answer to their cultures. And as a result, a lot of these women are definitely afraid to date outside their race, or sometimes outside their culture even. Hence the reason why you have a lot of these self-segregated groups in the most diverse cities in America. It's because they're still in the place where they grew up. And this is where you have these transit cities, cities where individuals will come by themselves, whether for work, school, or for some other reason. And these individuals who tend to take that leap outside of their communities and circles that they grew up around, these are the places where they're more likely to deal with individuals outside their race, mainly because they won't have to worry about the stigma and repercussions of using their options, of having a true free market dating opportunity. This is the reason why major metropolitan areas are usually on the list as some of the best areas for interracial dating. It's mainly because of the transient nature of the population itself. When the girls are away, they're more willing to play. Another characteristic of interracial friendly cities are cities where you see more than an average amount of hard to get women being with certain men. Say for instance, I'm going to pull up these two couples as the examples. Indian males with white females and black men with Asian females. The reason why I bring these two examples up is because these two pairings are among some of the least seen pairings within most of America. Now, if you go to any downtown area or social street where you have a lot of restaurants and bars, and if you happen to run into more than an average amount of Indian male, white female, or black male, Asian female couples, you can be rest assured that this area, at least the neighborhood, or if not the entire city or even region, is an interracial friendly place. It's easy these days to see, for instance, you may see an Indian dude with an Asian female. That isn't too uncommon. Or even a black male, Latina female. I mean, yeah, it's nice seeing them, but that's not going to really tell you the interracial attitude of an environment. Nobody really reacts too much to Indian dudes dating Asian females or black dudes dating Latinas. But if you see pairings in which it isn't common and it's looked down upon in most of the country, then rest assured that you're in an interracial friendly city. Now the last one, and this is especially for my thinking black men out there, the rest of the guys can sit on the sides and just listen to this and get what I'm about to say here. The last, and this may apply to minority dudes as well. Tell me, other minority dudes, feel free to tell me your experiences as well, but the last characteristic, and one of the most poetic justice-based characteristics of an interracial friendly city, are cities, and for that matter, countries, where the scraggle-daggle hates. Now, if you don't know what scraggle-daggle is, basically scraggle-daggle is not to indicate all black American females. It is to indicate ones that embrace and epitomize the dreaded Shaniqua stereotype. Now, you talk to these kind of women, and for that matter, you know what? Maybe non-daggle black females, you can include this as well, because some of them, even the professional black females who tend to hate certain locations, I mean, they just are afraid of the competition. Let's just state this outright. Cities and countries where daggles and black females hate, or maybe minority females of your race may hate, are good places for the men. Now, you would think that, well, if the sister told me not to move to this city or go to that country, that must be because they's racist, right? No, that's how the mediocre Negro and Bebe's kids think. We're not mediocre Negroes nor Bebe's kids. We're thinking black men here. And we have to analyze this for what this truly is. When the sister tells you that, oh, that country's bad, don't go there. Oh, this city's bad, I hated it there. What they're really telling you is that she hated how she had to compete. We just recently had a scraggle-daggle who was in Japan and flogging about how, well, I'm overweight and I look like a tub of lard, but, I'm getting sick of being used. I'm getting sick of the brothers dealing with feminine women. All these Japanese women going after the men who would be in my inbox if I was in the Dago Mecca. Why is this? Hey Tyrone, hey Tyrone, hey look at me, hey look at ass, look at this ass, I'm showing my ass, I'ma show my ass, look at my ass. What? You're digging the guts out of Sakura and Soo Young tonight in a three-way? Man, screw Sakura. Man, she ain't got no body like me. She all thin. Look at this. Hey, okay, I can't get Tyrone. I can get Lawrence. That educated lame. He an educated lame back in America, back in Chicago, back in Memphis. He been educated lame. He be fapping and being a MGTOW or Ibmore, whatever. But what? Lauren, remember me? Remember me? Remember all what? You got with Hinata? And you getting married to Hinata? No. You're supposed to be my bailout plan. My bailout package. No. I'm not too big to fail. That's what Big Mama and my aunties and my cousins and my sister and Mama, they told me we were going to get bailed out by Lawrence's after we were done with the Tyrones. Well, I'm in Japan. I'm stuck in Japan. I can't even get with the Tyrones. Man. That is exactly what happens when you deal with a location where the Daggles or even the moderately decent sisters tend to hate. They hate competition, as does every woman of every race. They hate competition from women of other races, specifically other cultures, etc. So when you hear this female talking about, oh, I hate that city, don't go to that country, buy your ticket. And if you're adventurous, buy a one-way ticket there, because more often than not, you won't regret it. And everyone else out there, always bet on X.